I was always under the impression that having a family would hinder my competitive spirit in the workforce. And I'm here to tell you that not only did having a family not hinder my competitive spirit, it actually made me more competitive and home in on new skills I learned from becoming a parent. Growing up, I learned how to be competitive by playing soccer with my brothers. They had a large group of friends who would always play, and they were much faster than me and bigger than me. And in order to compete, how I overcompensated for things is I would force my brothers to stay after soccer games with me, and I would race them so that I could train my body to be fast and have a little bit of an edge on people. Or I would make them do push up competitions with me so that I felt like I was getting stronger and able to hold people off from the ball. Ultimately, what I was doing is almost one upping people. I would just be more determined and put in a little more work so that I could be slightly faster and slightly stronger. Well, my learned competition skills, or competitive skills, if you will, paid off. In 2002, I was graduating high school and going into college. That year, there were 2.8 million female high school athletes, of which 154,000 would go on to be NCAA athletes. Now, going even further down, 19,000 would end up being soccer players on scholarship. I was one of those female soccer players on scholarship, and I must say, I felt like my collegiate career was pretty successful. I was a 3.5 year varsity starter. I don't know if you've ever heard of a sophomore slump, but it's a real thing. But really, what I took away from that is grit and determination. I was competing in the same way that I had growing up. I was competing against girls who were just as good as me, so I had to be a little bit faster or I had to be a little bit stronger in order to start and do well in my soccer career. Well, coming back to Hampton Roads after college, I kept those skills and competitive nature with me. I took a job at the Port of Virginia, and I quickly realized that I wanted to be a part of what the port had to offer. Thankfully, my boss at the time also saw that I had a lot to offer, and I was picked up as a high performer and someone who they wanted to sit at the table one day with the other chiefs. I took on the role as operational analyst, and it was a position that had never been formed before. My job entailed reporting directly to the chief operation officer on terminal and supporting his direct reports in hopes that they would better understand the decisions they were making and the financial impacts those decisions had on the day-to-day operation, or the decisions they made today on the operation impacts of tomorrow. I realized at that point that I was competing with much younger people who wanted that position. It was a really cool position, and I loved every minute of it. It was really neat. But I couldn't have a family if I was going to stay at the terminal until 11 o'clock at night or be able to complete analytics by 8 a.m. the next morning. There was no way I was going to be able to have the distractions of a family and be able to maintain my competitiveness and mobility and moving up in the organization. This caused a lot of tension with me and my husband at the time. He wanted a family. I had wanted nothing to do with it until I was in the corner office. Thankfully, the universe had bigger plans, and in 2015, I was pregnant with my first daughter. I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know how this would impact my career and my mobility. And so I was honestly a little bit, I hate to say it, dreading it. Well, I had 8 weeks at home with her, and I honestly, they were the best 8 weeks of my life. I learned a lot about myself and what I had to offer the poor. During that 8 weeks time, I realized that I had the skill of emotional intelligence, and I was truly starting to hone in on my nurturing skills. You know, nurturing is something that I've always considered as a soft skill or very vulnerable and not very important. But that was something that I now had the younger people didn't have because they weren't parents yet. So what I did was I kind of practiced my nurturing skills, which helped me with also my emotional intelligence skills. Additionally, I learned how to be a little more disciplined with my time because I wanted to get as much work done as possible so that I could go home and be with my babies. And it also helped me prioritize work. I wasn't just picking up everything anymore. I was picking the bigger projects that I knew would make the most impact for the organization. Finally, something that happened after becoming a mother is it didn't take away from my competitive edge or my nature. It actually made me more ambitious. I now had something greater that I was working for. I was working for this little person, and I was going to be her role model and the example, her first example of what a working mother and parent and my husband would look like and could be if she wanted to have it all. Since 2016, I have received 3 promotions and I have embarked on my EMBA journey with the intent of another promotion once it's completed. So, becoming a parent did not hinder my mobility in my career, and it certainly did not take away from my competitive nature. It actually made me more competitive because I am so ambitious now to prove to my children that you can have it all if you work hard enough and have determination. I never want them to think that they can be anything other than what they want to be. So becoming a parent actually encouraged me to be more competitive and work on skills that set me apart from everybody else instead of just trying to one up them.